Welcome to the Baer Faxt Live from Art Basel Miami Beach, brought to you by Turon Travel, the art world's travel specialist. Turon has been facilitating travel to the World's Art Fair for over 40 years. I know, I work with them. Head to turontravel.com to get discounted flights, hotels for your art fair experiences. This is our final segment of our inaugural Baer Faxt Live from, which will be from events, auction houses, art fairs. We're joined by my good friend and frequent guest of the Baer Faxt No Reserve podcast, Adam Lindemann. Adam, you're here at the end of the day to really give us a little bit of on the floor, like what's it like out there in the fair? How's it selling? What's your experience?
In the weeds?
In the weeds.
In the marsh? In the jungle?
In the cesspool.
I think it's pretty good. You know, I'm always nervous about how an art fair is going to go. And I don't know for others, but I've heard attendance is not that good. I've heard sales was not that good. I thought attendance was actually pretty robust, and sales have been pretty good. I don't think they've been, you know, like last year we had a knockout success, so it will be hard to compete with last year's success, but we brought great things and a mix of things so that it's not like masterpiece theater. Like you can come in and buy a young artist or buy something exciting. So it's been a good mix, and I think that business is pretty good.
I mean, was the bar set a little bit low? Was the bar adjusted after the November sale? Where were you on the bar setting?
I'm pretty cynical, and I'm kind of cautious about my expectations, but I have a great group of young people who work at Venus, and they're like hungry and they're real go-getters. So they come here to transact, and I think I like what we did this year. We brought some great historic material.
Be specific, it helps.
Yeah, and we did some young. So I have an amazing Robert Colescott from our Colescott show. I have a great Pettibone, big water painting that's quite amazing. I have a Joan Brown, which is an estate represented by Matthew Marks, but we also had shown Joan Brown in the past. We love Joan Brown. I have a fantastic Peter Saul painting, which is called Bad Day at the Art Gallery, with money flying and paintings flying, and it's so much about kind of the vibe of an art fair. And then we brought Richard Mayhew, who's our new artist of this year, 99-year-old Shinnecock American Indian, and also a member of the Spiral Group.
And some of this is selling, or there's reserves, or?
So a lot has transacted. You know, Mayhew is completely sold out. And then I have Keiichi Tanami, the Japanese 82-year-old master, Susumu Kumijo, Sophie Larimore, and Anna Benaroya. So those are kind of like the younger painters. So there's something for everyone. And then I did a back room where you basically buy something from $12,000 to, 120,000.
Before we drill down a little bit, what are you hearing from like the rumor mill? Isn't there like, oh, Hauser sold a painting for $20 million or this and that? What are you hearing as your clients are coming through, or other dealers, or are you getting a buzz of what?
I think people are collecting. People are spending money. I don't really know about anything major. I think I heard some rumors that some of the bigger galleries have moved things. I don't know if this is a fair where a $20 million painting is going to get sold right now.
Well, they announced they sold a $20 million.
Did they?
Painting.
Who did?
Hauserworth.
Oh, which one?
Philip Guston.
Oh, wow.
So
that's the record.
I doubt that was a walk-in, like, have you ever found that it's like somebody walks in and says, that's good, how much is it? They say 20 million, they'll say, I'll take it, send me the invoice. Or I kind of suspect that was like, I want to see it in person, I'm flying in from Dubai, kind of thing. Yeah. Do you spend, how much energy do you guys spend with doing PDFs and sending stuff out? How much of this is driven by pre-selling for Venus?
Well, you want to pre-sell as much as possible, because who wants to go to an art fair and be like, high. Hope a walk-in does it. But I think we've had a fair amount of activity before the fair. And then a lot of people, as you say, like to say, well, I'll come in and see it and confirm when I see it.
What do you think of people showing things that they've already sold?
But I do think that art fairs are a bit of, you know, throwing darts. Like there's definitely a roll of the dice in an art fair. Like you can get lucky and you can suddenly not be lucky. Hanging things that are sold, they do it. It depends. It's all, you know, marketing, but people kind of don't really consider the fact that an art fair is also marketing. I mean, it's advertising.
When I had my gallery in the 80s and 90s, I looked at it as advertising marketing dollars, not as sales dollars. At some point that changed.
Yeah, I mean, it's an activity that you kind of have to do. And I think a lot of galleries, even if they're not doing well, will, you know, continue to do it because you never know when Prince Charming will arrive.
Well, how many years did it take for you applying and complaining befot you got into Art Basel Miami Beach?
Well, I never complained.
I know, but
I
not
don't
you.
complain. I think this is our 4th year.
But how many times before that were you?
It took a while
It took a while.
to appear here, and it took a while to appear in Hong Kong, and yeah.
And
but
Basel.
there's 250. I think there's 265 galleries here.
So you're in the top 265.
I mean,
You're there in the top 265.
It's really,
but
yeah.
it's kind of become essential to be in, and then sort of a curse to be in at the same time, wouldn't you say?
Well, curse in what sense?
You're selling things here that you could sell at home.
Yeah,
You're spending, I don't know, 6 figures to do it.
yeah.
It's
Oh
like,
yeah, more.
or mid 6 figures.
Yeah.
Like $300,000-$400,000 maybe
Yeah,
there. So your first $1 million, you're kind of even.
yeah.
And like, what if no one came?
Yeah, that's the sort of the nervous part of it. But I will say this, Josh, that a lot of the people who come to an art fair are not the people who necessarily come to the gallery. Like there are people who have the fun of the art fair, they want the social part of the art fair, they love all those people walking around, and it's a great aggregator of people, whereas a gallery show, which is what I enjoy the most, is really for someone who wants to take it in seriously and like go deep into it and understand the narrative, what was the artist trying to do, what's it all about, and also the art fair, and this has been said before, but it's all about the catalyst, it's the trigger. So it's the notion that the next person who walks by could be the person that buys it, so it creates some sort of a catalyst, some sort of a trigger, which is always the kind of tricky part in an art fair, in a gallery show, is like, how do you get this person to like say, I want it, I'm gonna buy it now?
So some galleries stick red dots on things that aren't sold just so that somebody walks in the gallery doesn't think, oh, I'm the only schlub who buys that.
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
Yeah, I mean,
Have you done that?
I've never done that. I've never put a red dot on anything. I don't know. I don't like a lot of shenanigans. It's not my style. But I mean, marketing can, you know, involve all those different things. Saying it's sold, saying it's on reserve, saying it's on hold, everything's sold, everything's gone until you show up with money and suddenly it's not. But I think it's fine. I mean, veteran collectors or people who are well advised by someone like Josh Baer.
Oh, you always say that no one should have an art advisor. Come on now. Don't you remember writing that like art advisors are bad, no one should ever have one? Wasn't that you who wrote that?
Yeah, and now I love art advisors. I mean, they're my favorite people. Basically, I only want to be friends with art advisors. I'm really not interested in anyone else.
Didn't you create a famous moment about coming to the Art Basel Miami Beach?
I mean, that was a classic moment.
So tell this story.
And then at Vanity, and then in Vanity Fair, and Nate Freeman's article just the other day, I sung the praises of the Miami Art Fair, saying it's my favorite art fair.
But tell the backstory of what
My old article?
your old article.
Oh, that was so much fun.
What year was this?
When I was a journalist, a hobbyist journalist.
Oh man,
that was fantastic.
When you were writing for the New York Observer.
Yeah, it was so much fun.
Kushner's paper there.
So much
What did you say about Art Basel Miami Beach?
You know, people somehow think for some reason that I'm going to get invited to all the great parties, and they ask me, where are you going? What are you doing tonight? And of course, I feel like I'm invited nowhere, and wherever I'm going, I'm always at the wrong party in Miami, which may or may not be the case. but I wanted to do a send-up at some point in time, and I just wrote this article which basically said, I'm not going to Miami, and I'm not going to go to any of the parties because I want to collect seriously and not just be like shopping and just going to an art fair.
So that came out on like a Monday.
It was, well, I wrote it, it was closer to Thanksgiving, that art fair, and everyone had gone to bed, and I was like in the Bahamas or something, and I had a bottle of scotch, and I had had a few, and I started writing, and this lawyer was asking me what parties I'm going to and where am I going to, and I just wrote, I'm not going anywhere, and it was
And
a
that
complete.
became a big stir.
It was such a send-up that it was before Instagram. It was like Facebook. It went on the Facebook page. I had so much traffic, the Facebook crashed. It had like 575,000, like something, and then it just crashed the whole thing.
And everybody's talking, Adam's not coming in. So what's the thing you did?
And then Charles Saatchi felt obliged to like write a letter against it. And then Jerry Saltz had to write about it. And I didn't understand why, but everyone wanted to write about it because they wanted people to read them. It was all about getting my eyeballs. And it was just crazy. But the funny thing was, I just did it as like a kind of a bit of a spoof. It was like a tongue-in-cheek thing, of course.
But the spoof was, of course, you came to the fair.
Of course, I had it booked. I was showing up. I never was not going.
You were never not going, and everybody fell for it completely. Oh my God, Adam came. He said not. What's it mean? It was like that had it been.
It's amazing.
That's your Art Basel.
It's amazing.
All-time highlight, right?
Yeah, that was
You can't top that.
It just shocks me time and time again how people don't have a sense of humor or take things a little too seriously. Like, I could just say something, I don't mean it at all. It's like, it's funny to me, or perhaps, Josh, and you could tell me this, my jokes aren't funny.
Well, you did one recently, and I said by email, and I said something like, my wife and daughter are going to Thanksgiving without me, and you said something like mean, like they want to, or because they hate you. And I said, that's so mean.
I didn't say
and you
they
even
hate you.
kind of by email you said something.
I said something like, you're lucky they stayed this long.
Something like that. And it's like, and I said, that's really mean.
Oh.
And you actually, I note to the world, he's capable of this. He actually apologized.
I said it, like, I didn't mean it. I did, I said this is a.
And I'm like, my wife likes you. There aren't that many people who like you. You shouldn't like mess with that.
My humor is a bit off color, but that was definitely like, it was a hilarious moment. But it's funny, I got into trouble again recently with a famous dealer and a famous design, both a design dealer and an art dealer. I went to this very fancy hotel in the south of France, and a special room was given to me with a pool and a this and a that. And there was art everywhere. It was all set. And the guy who had set it up for me, I'd rather not say the name. I'd rather not. He said to me, "How is it? How is it going?" And my wife loved the place, and so because he asked me, and because I'm supposed to like it, I said it's terrible. I'll never come here again. I can't believe this art. Who found this stuff and who found this? It was totally the opposite of what I thought it would be funny. And they came back to me and said, "How dare you say such a thing?" I was like, and I just let it simmer. It was just too much fun.
Well, what you have to understand about us is if we're kidding you and being mean to you, we like you.
Yeah.
Except if we really mean it. Sometimes we really mean it seriously. So if you're making fun of me, I know it's a sign of affection, mostly, maybe, and all that. So back to the fair a little bit, I want to ask you.
And I love Chateau Lacoste. Yes. It was just purely for fun. Yeah. It's like a little fun here. Come on, we got to have a little smile.
It's nice there. I was going to say back to how the art fairs work as we sort of circle back to this. You were talking about how your directors are being really proactive. I found that when times were good, they really sat there and they thought if someone answered the PDF and bought something because 90 people did it, they were sales geniuses. And like, I need to fly first class and you better put me up at the Satai. And then COVID hit and suddenly, and the market's corrected, they need to work a little bit. Would you say, A, that's accurate, and B, if that's universal and your guys have learned that? Have they made a switch? When you said they're hungry.
I think my team is very, very hardworking, and nobody needs to put a fire under anyone. I mean, they're very ambitious, they're very hungry, and I think it's great. I mean, it gives me energy, and it also keeps me on the ball because
But you understand my point of like how it's kind of easy and everybody was a genius?
yeah, and now the art world's going to be tougher, and everyone's going to have to work harder. I think you know, I heard Larry Gagosian quoted saying, "We're just going to have to work harder."
Who?
Larry, but he said that to, I don't know if he said it to someone, but listen.
What he said that I liked is like when times, I think the art market was in one of these corrections, he sent to all staff, "It's my birthday, sell something," to the all staff email. And I thought that really summed him up pretty well. I was like, I wish that, you know, I'd say that's it. My staff is here. My birthday's coming up in 2 weeks.
But it's funny. I've learned this with some difficulty. You know, 12 years running this gallery. I'm someone who loves a story. I love storytelling, so I love talking to you, and it's fun for me to. And every work of art to me is a story. But when people buy things, they don't want to hear too much. They just want to like somehow.
I think if you give them one line that says, you know, this is really in reference to Winnie the Pooh, they're really happy because when somebody comes to their house, they go, oh, that painting, oh, it's about Winnie the Pooh. They want one little remark, and art that's sublime doesn't always give you that remark. I mean, you can't say that about Agnes Martin, that it relates to, you know, Jack and the Beanstalk or, you know, Camus' thing like that. So work that's kind of gives you that one little thing, I think, you know, understanding how you start as a collector. How do you think differently than you do as a professional? I'll make one more comment and go back to you. It's like, we tend to forget that for a lot of them, it's fun. For me, going to art fair is not fun. But for my clients who are taking time off of their work, for them, it's fun. When I play golf with my golf pro, he's not having fun. I mean, he does, but I'm having fun. And now you've switched from a collector to a dealer. What's that transition
Yeah,
like?
12 years ago, I opened the gallery.
I remember talking about it with you before you did it, and I said, your wife is not going to like this. And you went, that's true. And what's that difference?
Yeah, I thought she was
like?
going to hire me. She wouldn't hire me, so I had to do my own thing, you know?
But how's it feel as a dealer versus a collector? Now, 12 years in.
I think there's different, you know, different pleasures. I think working as a gallerist and running a gallery is a job and it's work. Collecting is more like a pastime, like a leisure pastime, you know, leisurely pastime rather.
Do you think it helped? Many
You
of the
could also
great
be
dealers
pro collector.
were collectors first.
Yeah, well, thank you. I'll take that personally. You know, I am a collector, and I'm a reader, and I'm a student, and I'm a curious person, and I'm always the person who wants to hear the story, who wants to read all the books, who wants to look at all the records and understand every deal and meet every person who's involved. And you know, when the pleasure of the gallery is really working with artists and getting to do the show. And I think that you learn about the material, you learn about the artist, you learn about the work in a very different way when you're actually behind it. And you have to put it out into the world, put it into the market. You have to deal with the marketing, you have to deal with the public relations, you have to deal with the press, you have to deal with the collectors, you have to do it with the financial aspect of it, you have to deal with the artist and their, you know, their issues and their complexities, or with the estate and what they want. And it's also kind of a complex and quite a competitive field. So it's challenging, but I think it can be gratifying, it can be amazing, it can be thrilling, and it is enough times to, you know, keep you going. But I think running a gallery is a job, whereas collecting is that's more of a hobby or more of a pastime.
What surprised people when you did this, and I know because we worked on a show together, is I think people think, oh, a gallery, that's fun. I do parties, I make a lot of money, I have this thing. And even most of the galleries don't lean as much into their own art. as you'd think. And what I learned working with you, and I'm still struck by it, is you became an expert in that artist way deeper than all the other people who dealt in that artist before.
Oh, that's so nice of you.
And it was really impressive that you were like, I don't have to do A or B. We can do A and B, and here's why. And that you were not a dilettante. And the impression could have easily been, here's this rich kid from Florida, who's made all this money,
New York.
from like, who went to Lycée Français and speaks perfect French, and Yale Law and all that, and he bought all this stuff, and this is going to be kind of a plaything. And it was the natural assumption that almost everybody had going in, that you were not like, you like to play dumb, but you're not. And you went so deep into every artist and every show that anybody who interacts with that has got to come away with like, this is not BS. It's like, you like to play around and all that, but you're kind of a model for people to really, if you're going to do this, you have to go all in. All your chips, maybe not the financial chips, but your intellectual chips. And that's what's required to succeed. And you did that. So keep doing that.
Well, thank you.
And tell us a little bit more what you sold, but someday. But
yeah, I mean, that Jack Goldstein show that you helped me with, I mean, when anyone would say, would have that thought, that quite superficial thought that you mentioned, I'm always shocked because I'm the opposite. I'm like a very, I love studying and I love understanding. And if I'm going to do a show of Jack Goldstein, I'm going to look at every single painting and I'm going to meet with his, ex-girlfriends and Ashley Bickerton and understand how Ashley painted the paintings. And I'm going to meet with Josh Baer, who knew him. And I'm going to go all the way. And I do for Peter Saul and for Richard Mayhew and, all the major things that we're involved in. And even the young artists. I mean, if you're not going to be an expert in what you're showing and what you're representing, what's the point?
Well, here's just to sum up and sign up. The art fair is not the ideal place to be able to express those issues. And that's the push and pull of having that conversation with somebody who's going to 200 booths, who's got 20 seconds to decide whether they qualified to do that, is kind of like the sort of push and pull of that. It's the love-hate with the art fair. But it's a chance to understand your passion for things that people know you understand. So thank you, Adam, for joining us.
Thank you, Josh. Happy to be here.
Thank you for watching the Baer Faxt live from Art Basel Miami Beach, brought to you by Heritage Auctions, where history is discovered, sold, and made every day. Don't forget to bid on their thoughtfully curated selections of contemporary works, not just coins, at ha.com.